Hi, John Meadows. John's here.
Hi,
Hello.
Hi there.
Hi, John.
Hi there.
Hello.
We are almost at 7 o'clock to start this meeting.
So you
John
can't
is sitting in because he wanted to just see what the meetings are like. He's struggling with making the commitment of time to be on the committee because he doesn't want to be on the committee, but then unwilling to do what the committee needs to have done. And I'm trying to convince him to change his mind and give it a shot, see how it would go.
I'm confident he'll be dazzled by our efficiency.
Right.
Well, as long as we're gonna
Dazzle.
Right. I don't want to get overcommitted and have you think that I'd be a bad committee member. There's a lot of irons in the fire right at the moment, and I'd rather be upfront about that and not commit to something and then have you guys think that, well, this guy's only half-hearted into this. What's his problem? Maybe another time. I guess I just kind of want to get a gist of what your guys' plan is, where you're going, what the commitment is for time, how many committees you have going. I guess I just want to learn more at this point.
That's fair enough.
Well, welcome.
Yeah.
All right, in terms of efficiency, it's 7 o'clock or it's 6 o'clock. So I'd like to call this meeting, the Land Preservation Committee, to order. Lenore sent me today some electronic meeting procedures. The Board of Trustees identifies themselves. So this is David Gordon. I guess if we're calling it to order, then we should have Marissa call the roll.
Yes. Okay, so I will start. I am Marissa Prishnan. I am attending remotely from Northfield Township in Washtenaw County, Michigan. I am present. Christina Ferris.
Hi, Christina Ferris, attending remotely from Northfield Township, Michigan.
David Gordon.
David Gordon, attending remotely from Northfield Township, Washtenaw County, United States, planet Earth.
Julia Henshaw.
Likewise, attending remotely from Northfield Township.
I'm going to slow down. We'll go Tallulah West.
Tallulah West, attending remotely from Northfield Township, Michigan.
And Sue Shink.
Hi, this is Sue Shink, attending remotely from Northfield Township, Michigan.
Love you guys. That was so good. Everyone's, Lenore, I'm sorry. Lenore.
This is Lenore, present, attending remotely from Washtenaw County, Northfield Township, Michigan.
All right,
Very
we're all
good.
present. We have a quorum.
Great. I'd like to move to adopt the agenda.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Aye has it. Call to the public. You have 3 minutes. Please identify yourself, where you live, and any comments. We'd love to hear from you. I see that we have Joanne Pearson from the public. Hi, Joanne.
Joanne Pearson, 5756 Earhart Road, Northfield Township. I'm calling to voice my opposition to the proposed density at the former Leland Centennial development, the Chestnut development. I believe that this developer's proposal is not in line with our master plan, nor the intent of the master plan, and I feel like it's deja vu 2004. And also attending here listening is Jerome Pearson, my husband, same address. He feels the same. Okay, so thank you for all your good work. Hello, I know most all of you. Nice to see you, and my neighbor.
That's my neighbor.
All right, that was my call to the public, I think, hopefully under 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joanne.
For your work. Thank you.
Thank you. We are not decision makers in this process on the rezoning request, but I appreciate your comment nonetheless. Seeing no one else, we can close call to the public and move to board member comments.
Just for your information, I believe Nate Moko has just joined us.
Okay, great.
Earlier.
Someone want to let them know we're about to wrap up the call to the public? Can you hear us, Nate?
Yeah, I'm good. I got really bad signal. So yeah,
Okay.
no call here. Hello, everybody. Just joining in.
What about John?
John, is there anything you'd like to say?
Nope, I'm just here to observe today.
Okay, very good. Any board member comments? If not, we'll move.
I have a comment.
Okay, Marissa.
Just to thank Joanne and Jerome for attending our meeting today. And that the meeting that you want to attend is Wednesday night, the Planning Commission. So make sure that you get your comments to them. They're the people who will be actually making some movement on that. And you can find that information on the website. And then I want to add something to the agenda. David, should I do that now or should I make a motion once we start?
Let's wait. Well, we actually adopted the agenda.
Okay, well, I'll wait till then. It's a simple thing, but I want to create some sort of process or assign somebody to do the board updates that are due at the first meeting of every month. Because they're due like the next day after our meetings and we're always scrambling to do them. So I just want to get a process in place. So maybe that's something you and I can talk about afterwards, but.
Yes, we can, because I've been working with Lenore to get that done. And if you want to talk to us about it later, we can do that to create the process.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yes. Thank you.
Any other board comments, commission comments? All right, great. Approval of the March 1st minutes. I would move to adopt the minutes. I believe Lenore has some corrections she'd like to make.
Yeah, there's really just one. I sent a note out. So if we go into page 1 of 3 and the second column under the agenda items, it just said Zelenak has requested that the lawyer keep regular office hours so committee representatives have access to get their questions answered. I would just like just to change that to answer any legal questions.
I made that correct. Would you like me to read the correction that I made?
Yeah, did I miss it? I might have missed it, Marissa.
No, it hasn't been out because I just got it today. So the group doesn't have it, but I did make it.
Okay.
So then we can say everybody knows exactly what it says. So it starts where it starts as Christian added some additional insight that the board seemed like they didn't know what they were working on. So we continue to try to be as transparent and thorough as possible. Zelenak has requested that the lawyer keep regular office hours to answer legal questions.
Yep, that's perfect. Thank you. So in the past, just for, I know with Nate being here and others, in the past, Mr. Fink, our current attorney, would come into the office and he would be available for questions. And if he wasn't, if we didn't have questions, we wouldn't be billed for that. And I found it pretty useful, certainly from the treasurer's point of view, if we had any treasury questions. And right now we do have on the land preservation about potentially how do we do donations, and I've been communicating on that. We have just in general, what to do with the Whitmore Horseshoe Lake, all the property that the township owns, and sometimes doing it through emails and separate phone calls isn't always the efficient way to do it. Thank you. That's really the only correction I had based on your comments, Marissa. Okay, thanks.
All right, very good. So can we adopt the minutes based on that, with that one correction? All in favor?
Aye.
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 No opposition? Great. Move on to our agenda. Item number 1, vote to change our September meeting date, which is currently scheduled for the 6th, which is Labor Day.
So moved.
Marissa?
I would like to make a motion to change our September meeting to 9/13/2021.
I'll
The second
support.
Monday.
I'll
Support by
support.
Zelenak.
Support.
Any discussion?
Good idea.
Good idea. Okay, great. Good catch, Marissa.
Need a quick all
All
in
in
favor?
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Nope. All right, cool. 9:13. And so Marissa, you'll contact Jennifer Carlisle and have it changed on the website?
I will change it on the website and let Jennifer Carlisle and everybody, we'll put it in the board, we'll put it in the board update. That would be a good thing to add to that.
That's a
All right,
perfect.
well.
perfect.
Thank
But
you.
I will make sure it's updated on the website as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Item number 2, discuss new member applications and vote on a recommendation to the Board of Trustees. This is not going to happen tonight simply because, as we discussed earlier with John Meadows, he's pondering whether he has the time for this. I certainly hope he decides that yes, he's willing to jump in and join us, because he's got a wealth of information of who is actually farming in the community, which is something really none of the rest of us know. And he's an active farmer, and he's a bright guy, and he believes in preservation. So I think he'd be ideal. And so if we have to wait another month for this, then Julia seems to be fine. She's knitting away or crocheting or purling.
That a friend would have a baby coming in May. I just want to say, I really do think, John, it's not a huge commitment. I'm wanting to get off because I've been on for a long time. And, it's a good group. It's a friendly group. It's an efficient group. And if you are busy in a particular time, a particular season of the year, which I'm sure you are, you can make up for it by being active in maybe a quieter time of the year for yourself. So I hope you'll consider it, because it's a very important, and it's important to have you involved, have someone who really is on the ground and knows what's going on. So I hope you'll find that this is not a terribly burdensome committee to be on,
Miss,
but pleasant.
Lenore?
so with that, Chair, maybe we should just take a moment and introduce ourselves, and also direct John Meadows to the bios that we have out on our website. So I'll start. My name is Lenore Zelenak. I am the representative from the Township Board. I'm the treasurer. I've been in the community 27 years. I've always said that we need both. We need development and land preservation. And when we do that, we will succeed as a community. So I've been very passionate about it through my stay here in the township.
Anyone else want to jump in there? Marissa?
Sure, I'll go. I'm Marissa Pritchett. I've lived in Northfield Township for 6 years. I joined the Land Preservation Committee about 14 months ago, last January. I actually only attended 2 meetings pre-COVID. So it's almost all been virtual to me, but it's been a good experience. If somebody's thinking about joining the Land Preservation Committee, what I would want you to know is that most of what we do here in these monthly meetings is make decisions and pull the trigger on things that are already in the works behind the scenes. And most of that work happens on smaller subcommittees, which are additional volunteer. Like, we won't just assign something to you. You will say, yes, I'll work on that, or yes, I'll take responsibility for that. Some of them are ongoing, and some of them are just quick hitting tasks as well. So you can really do get as involved as you'd like, or as, whatever you have time for. Nobody's going to pressure you into to doing too much. And I see there are some other people from the public watching as well. If you're interested in applying for any of the boards, you can access that on the website as well. There's a boards and application. If you go to the bottom, it says jobs, and you can find a board application there, and that's for any of the boards. But if you go to under community in the land preservation tab, you can read all of our bios and answer any questions that you might have about what this committee does.
Great. Sue, would you like to jump in for a sec?
Sure, thank you. So my name is Sue Schenk. I live on a very small farm in Northfield Township. I moved here about 20 years ago to farm, and then found myself becoming very involved in land preservation and politics. And so I actually serve on the Agricultural Lands Advisory Committee for the county, which is involved in land preservation around the county and in Northfield Township. And I am now chair of the board of Washtenaw County Commissioners. So I would say that this is a very friendly group, and we're trying to make good use of our time and find ways to support the farming community in Northfield Township. So it's a pretty great place to be, and we're glad that you're all here.
I can say,
Sorry?
I said, I can say something if you want.
Okay, I thought you already said something, but go ahead.
Well, I did already say something. I didn't say about myself.
Well, I guess I'm the last.
Okay,
person.
yes, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Julia.
Oh, go
Julia,
ahead.
you've been here for a long time. You've been an original member of the
Right.
Land Preservation Committee, so jump in.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Okay. I've lived here now for 35 years, I think. And I live on a very small farm. We have a hayfield. And I feel a lot of my real interests are in the natural world. I've done a lot of work with the Huron River Watershed Council and with the Botanical Garden. I'm very familiar with the township by being here a long time and by really looking around and inspecting a lot of the land for the Huron River Watershed Council. And we have beautiful land. We really do. We have forests, we have fields, we have streams, we have so much here. And it is very important to me to preserve that for the future. I agree we need development. I'm not anti-development, but it really has to be contained and it has to be smart development. So anyway, I've been happy to be here and we've had some successes. It is really gratifying to me, the properties that have been preserved in the past 3 or 4 years. So, hooray. I really feel like this committee has accomplished something and will continue to do so. So there, that's my speech.
Thank you. Thank you. Christina?
Hi, I'm Christina Ferris. I'm very new to the committee, just joined late last year. I don't live on a farm. I live more in a neighborhood, but I also believe in land preservation. The thing that I appreciate about this committee is there's a fairly diverse group here. And one of the things I think that Julia mentioned is that you can get as involved as you have time to. And the types of things, because when I first joined, I thought, how does my skill set fit here? And the committee is really wonderful about, providing types of jobs, or there are opportunities to get involved in ways that don't seem as much like work, because they're the things that you kind of do naturally, and they're an extension of things that you're interested in. So that part I found to be really great about the committee, and I think we're beginning to develop some momentum. So I feel like the more diverse group we can have, the more we're going to be able to accomplish.
Very good.
Thank you. And Tallulah, most recently appointed.
Hi, I'm Tallulah West. I'm brand new to the group. I think 3 months in. I moved to Northfield Township with my husband almost 2 years ago. So we're fairly new to the township. Been living in Michigan for about 4 years. My background is, strangely enough, I've been working in the oil and gas industry for 15 years as an environmental compliance professional. And so I've gotten to work close with a lot of landowners all over the country. Restoration is a huge part of what we do, a lot of ag lands. And I moved here because I like being out in the country. If I wanted to live in Ann Arbor or South Lyon or somewhere else, that's where I'd be. But I want to do what I can to preserve that feeling that we all like about what we like about this place is, that it's open and people are out recreating and fishing and farming and bicycling and, and people are really enjoying it. And so I just want to work a little bit harder to keep it nice.
All right, great. John and I have already talked, so he knows about me. I don't need to add anything else.
Well, I certainly appreciate you guys taking a minute to introduce yourself. I feel like that was pretty important and probably not really part of your agenda tonight. So that's a very nice thing. You know, I want to be a productive, efficient member of your committee. I am on the school board right now, and I have two more years left in a 6-year term. And I have 2 children in school, and one will graduate at the end of my first term. And then the little one would like me to stay on board in the school board for a few more years. And I think I'm on that trajectory, I think. So, you know, time is, and like David alluded to, I farm about 100 acres right now and working on a little bit more land here in the future. And I work in the agriculture business. So I'm a crop consultant out of a facility in Saline. So I work with probably 80 or 90 growers in the area, some in Northfield Township, but in all the communities around. So, and I've been doing that for 25 years. So, and we're right on the brink of our busy season. So this, you know, it makes me nervous. I'm nervous anyway, just because spring is coming, it's planting season, and there's a million things going. But, you know, as long as, like I told David earlier, you know, I'd like to work with you guys. I see the value in land preservation. I was able to buy my first farm because it was preserved 15 years ago in Webster Township. And, you know, that would not have happened if the previous owners hadn't made that decision. I don't think I could have ever bought that chunk. So, you know, I understand the value. I understand the value of preservation of land coming even from a different angle. And a lot of the growers that I work with, you know, have preserved their farms already, you know, and Dave and I were kind of talking earlier about some of the other ones in the area that are a possibility. So, you know, I think Lenore really hit it on the head, is there's got to be a balance between, you know, smart development and land preservation. And I think, you know, from what I'm hearing so far, you know, it seems like that's the page that you guys are on. So thank you for taking the time, you know, to introduce yourselves. I certainly appreciate that. And I won't leave you guys hanging. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. I think you'd be a great asset to the committee. And like I told John, basically our job is to set up a process, a system, so that when property owners come to the community and say, we want our property to be preserved, that we have the mechanism in place that efficiently makes that happen. And setting up those processes is what we're involved in now with bylaws and the ordinance that we have in front of the planning commission at this point, and identifying the baseline of what property is being farmed, what are the best places to preserve. That's part of the work. But once that's done, then basically it's just an outreach to the community and education of the community about the value of preservation, and just, you know, trying to inform the property owners of the values of land preservation. And so that's pretty much it. You know, that's our mission. And with that,
Moves right into our reviews of goals.
number 3, the review of goals. Hopefully before we get there, by the next meeting, John will have made up his mind, and we'll know which way to go in terms of his application or finding someone else if we need to. I'm sure John would, even if he doesn't join us, would be a happy resource to answer any questions we might have if we reach out to him. So thank you, John. Number 3, review of goals. Marissa, this is something that you wanted to make sure was on the agenda. How would you like to move forward with this? You're muted at the moment.
For those of you who don't know, I'm the secretary, so I'm also like always taking notes at the same time. So I wasn't actually looking at you all there for a moment. Yeah, I wanted to review the goals at each meeting. Just make sure that we're always coming back to them, make sure anything has changed, share anything that's relevant to those things as they happen. So we should have them. Didn't I put them right into the minutes?
Yes, they're right there. Lenore, yes.
Well, if you want to, I'll give a little update on raising funds to support the work of the LPC, the last one, bullet point. So I have been communicating with our attorney, and one thing he's indicated is that the township should have a donation policy. And I have reached out to some of our members on the board that have been on the board longer than myself, and we don't think we have one. So I will be pursuing with the board about creating a donation policy. That's one thing that we need to move forward for any donations, even though we do get donations for land preservation. We receive donations from the community for the community center and Parks and Rec. We need, as a board, as a township board, to have a donation policy. So I will be working on trying to get that accomplished.
Great. I'd kind of like to jump in and say something about that item number 2 about establish ongoing advocacy and outreach to educate children. And that's, again, one of the reasons I was hoping to be able to snag John onto our committee while he's still sitting on the Board of Education at Whitmore Lake, because we were very interested in coordinating with the school system and the synergies and the advantages of getting kids involved in nature and preservation from an early age and introducing them to that. So we are definitely working on that. That's all I wanted to say about that.
I'll speak to that one as well. I know that Tallulah has contacted, this kind of ties in, and we can review it in more detail when we get to the subcommittee updates. But this is a big goal, and we haven't really mapped out a timeline for it yet. So for those who are watching, we just kind of outlined all of our goals 2 months ago, and we are working on lining them all up. But this is something that's going to be a big, important one, and it's a lot of connecting the dots between resources that already exist and the community. So I'm excited to work on this particular item.
Yeah, so I did, just to clarify, I did reach out to Linda Lupi and Eric Kobeck and CC and Marissa. We haven't heard back yet, but it was just pretty much telling them about the resources that we've come up with and seeing if they, would be interested in us updating them periodically, if they know anyone else who would be interested, and what kind of path can we make going forward. So let you know, we'll keep working on it.
Christina, you and I are working on a communication plan. What would we have to share with the committee at this point in time on where we're at?
So I think our next steps on our communication plan are really related to the upcoming hike and putting together our next steps for promoting that. So I think you and I, and was it Marissa who else was involved in that, or maybe it's just you and I, can talk through that, because I've got some ideas about, we should be starting promotion soon on that.
Right, we should probably be talking to like Julia and Tallulah. You two are working on the hike, right?
Yeah, that's its own. Yeah, we've got a whole agenda item for the hike itself.
All right, so we'll pick that up on the agenda item. Anything else on goals and objectives? All right, the 2021 budget. How about Lenore or Marissa? Do you want to jump in on the budget?
I have what David, you and I and Christina met on this.
Yeah, I didn't meet on this.
Not Lenore.
Okay.
That's why I was confused. I have it pulled up on my screen here. Does everybody have that as well?
Do I
The
have to,
Excel file.
you want me to share it?
Yeah, share it, please.
I mean, if everybody can see it, we don't need to share it. I just don't know if everybody can, or if everybody has had a chance to review it. I don't even know, are we submitting a budget, David? Maybe that's something you want to talk about, because we thought we were preparing a budget, but then at the very next meeting, there was already a budget item entered for us for the first draft. So I don't really know what's going on with that.
Yeah, it seems to me that, Lenore, correct me if I'm wrong, but the Board of Trustees has us at $7,500, and that's the budget that you adopted at your last,
Not adopting it.
or that
right now.
that you discussed at your last meeting.
We're starting to discuss. So what the board is looking for, and I mentioned at our township meeting, is we are looking for details of how much money the LPC would be requesting and what they would use it for. That was just a placeholder at the 7,500. And I will remind people too that right now we have $5,000 in the budget, which will expire at the end of June because our new fiscal year starts in July. So, we are looking for details. We are probably going to have another budget discussion at the board meeting, at the second meeting in April. So the detail that we can provide will be very helpful to take that to that discussion. So I see it here, and I guess if people could explain. One thing I have on looking at the budget, do we know, so as one member of the LPC, I'd really like to see how much a survey would go, and I'd like to put in, our efforts into that. I think that would be very beneficial for us as a committee, as well as the township as a whole. So I don't know if the 5,000 is a firm number or if it's just a placeholder at this time.
Well, I made some inquiries about a survey. I reached out to the University of Michigan and also to a private organization, a private enterprise that I found online. The private organization said that it was basically what we were looking for was too small and they didn't want to bother with it. So they kind of walked away. The University of Michigan, however, did get back to me and they did show an interest and said they were having a meeting last Wednesday and they were going to get back to me, which they have not done, with their committee to talk about either coming on board as our consultant or simply being like somebody who gives us advice on how to proceed. Because essentially they said the survey we're looking to do is so small and the sampling size is so small that we should be able to do this with a mailing and like a Survey Monkey sort of thing, where you send out a mailing and then ask people to respond either to that mailing or to a specific website and set it up so that only one person can respond per email so that you have some control over that, which I think sounds probably more attractive to the board than asking them for money, because at this point in time, I don't have a dollar figure that the $5,000 that I mentioned to the private enterprise people didn't entice them at all. Christina, you also did some outreach on this.
Yes, I've also contacted a company and I'm waiting to hear back from them this week to see what they could do with us. But 5,000 is really low for a company, but we might be able to find one to work with us. So I think that that's probably a minimum that we'd really want to look at for doing a survey.
I mean, is there any way we can get something on a ballot and not have to
It's not just that, it's like figuring out what the wording is. How do you ask the questions? What questions do you ask? Tabulation, cross tabs. So that I think there's a little bit of advisement that support that way that an organization can provide, because basically for the 5,000 we'd be doing all of the distribution and the work for distributing and collecting the survey. They would help us with the putting it together and then analyzing the results so that we can make sure that we can feel confident that we have statistically significant and well-worded questions so that we can really get to the heart of what we want to know as a committee and a community.
Julia, your hand was up first.
When you said you talked to the University of Michigan, that's kind of a big organization. Who did you talk to?
It was their social outreach. They have a school of social.
Really?
I don't know. There's so many schools there. It's hard to tell. I'd have to look it up. I don't have it right in front of me here. But
Okay.
it was an organization that within the university that does this kind of work, and they were really quite receptive in terms of working with us. So
Great.
I will follow up with that and see how the meeting went on Wednesday and what they recommend at this point.
In any survey we do, would it go to everyone in the township? But does that mean that everyone in the township is not a big enough number? What do we have? I keep forgetting. We have 6,000 people, 7,000 people.
8,500.
We have 85 to 8,800 people, and basically the concept was that we would send it to the registered voters,
Oh, okay. But that's considered small.
which is still 7,000. No, well, it's small for an outfit that does large surveys. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was just curious. Okay.
Marissa, you had your hand up?
I have, yes. First, to the survey, I think that it's important to understand that there are a lot of tools at our disposal, such as like SurveyMonkey or, just sending something out, an internet link. But what we're looking for is a really solid, statistically significant analysis of how the people in the township feel about land preservation. So we want to make sure that those questions are written by a professional and are not biased in any way and are going to give us a true picture of what's going on. The other thing I wanted to ask was, because we don't have a solid number for this survey, should we just include a number or should we come back? So Lenore, I guess my question is to you, is when should we submit something to the board?
Well, I'd like to submit something, again, so that they have the information for the second meeting in April, because we'll be discussing about it.
So tomorrow by noon.
No, that's not the second meeting. That's the first meeting.
Oh, okay. So 2 weeks from
So
tomorrow.
we still have 2 weeks.
Oh,
Yeah,
still
so
not before we meet again.
Correct.
So is there a
So-
way we can like passively pass this budget as is with a number plugged in?
Well, now, I think we could give them a preliminary one and say we're still working it out. If we agree to the items here, like say we have a question on the survey, we think that's the minimum. Here's what we're doing. We're trying to make sure, here's people we're contacting, and that we'd come back with more. So I think it would be good for us to give the board something and detail behind it. Survey. We have a question. We are reaching out to, the University of Michigan. We are reaching out to a private firm. Our concern is to make sure that the questions are appropriate, or, I don't know how you said it, Christina.
Statistically significant and yeah.
So that, and that's what we're trying to aim. We just don't want to do kind of like a random survey and us as an organization make up the questions, because that's not what, we're good at. We're looking for so we get answers that are, I guess, are significant and appropriate.
Well,
So
and
I would put something like that together, and it's a matter of the dollar amounts, 5,000. We think that's low, so maybe we put a little higher number there and take a number out somewhere else.
Christina?
Lenore, you said a little bit ago that there was 5,000 in the budget for this current year. Does that carry over is it a use or lose situation?
It's a use or lose. We could bring it to the board's attention that, we received it later and that we didn't use it and that we'd like to put that money towards a survey. So maybe we put, so anyway, that's my thought, but I think we should indicate what we're doing and give a preliminary budget and we'll go from there.
Tallulah?
I guess, yeah, about the survey, I'm guessing we'll have like a subcommittee meeting or other meetings about it, because I think that when we think about land preservation, that, there's people that hunt in these lands, there's people that snowmobile, there's fishing, there's so many forms of, recreation that people value. So I think that instead of just thinking, do you like it or is it important to you, that we need to make sure that we're all encompassing, to different demographics and different interests and hobbies and lifestyles. And so I just want to make sure that that's communicated too.
Okay, well, I like Lenore's recommendation that we should take what we have in terms of a budget right now and present it to the board, vote on presenting that to the board right now as a preliminary. and that we're working on finalizing it for our next meeting so that the board has an understanding that the 7,500, we're very grateful that the board is willing to do that, but that there's a good chance that we might be asking for a little bit more when we finalize our budget for their meeting in May, I would assume.
Yep, closer to
Not-
June.
Closer to June.
Yep, yep. We
Okay.
adopt it usually at the last meeting in June. But pretty much the first meeting, we should be where we think we're going to be at the last meeting for June.
All right, so is there anyone that
I have
would
a
have any
question.
problem with us providing that in our report?
Question is,
Board?
how did you determine 4 mailings as opposed to, let's say, 2 mailings?
Just seemed like one per season seemed to make sense.
Okay.
And we're
And
not-
what type of mailings are we talking about?
Well, ones that would be included, the less expensive ones would be ones that we would put into the tax bills, because all we'd have to do is print
Yep.
something up.
Right, so those are, I think the last one was like 500, a little less than 500. So if you
Right.
put it in 2 tax bills, that's going to be 1,000. And then you're talking about 2 separate mailings beyond that? Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, so
I'm
you have,
open to-
yeah, right now we have $2,380 times 4. So it would be maybe $2,380 times 2, right?
Right.
6, 7, 4, 7, 6, and then another 1,000. So maybe like 5,760, rounded up to maybe 5,800 for the mailings.
You're the treasurer.
Well, that's what I would recommend. Is I would say that's my logic, but I'm
Yeah.
just recommending that to the budget committee. So I would actually, again, if we did separate mailings in the tax bill, that would be 500, which I think is a little higher than we were. And then if we did 2 separate mailings, that would be 2,380 times 2, 4,760 plus 1,560, 5,760 rather.
Sounds good to me.
Is that, well, I mean, again, I don't want to step on the budget committee. 760. And I'd either make it 5,800 or 5,700.
I'll change it to 5,800.
Okay. Great. And then the community outreach, what was that going to be?
I think that the thought on that, if I remember correctly, we didn't take notes at the subcommittee meeting, but I believe that it was in case we need to, wasn't it, we were talking about doing Facebook ads for events,
Oh, okay.
Yes.
like payment promotions, and also in case we need to print any signs, if we decide to do outreach in that way, we're looking for a low cost, high impact way to use some money for community outreach.
Okay. So I guess I would be looking for, going to the board just that, we're going to do, we'd like to put 2 mailings into the newsletter, and then we'd like to do separate mailings. So that, and then the outreach program, I would just do Facebook ads and any other, what was the other?
It just says social media promo materials, but I would imagine that if we were going to submit this to the board, somebody would write it on a company memo, right,
Yep.
to explain it. Would
Yep.
usually be how that would go. So I'm sure that can be done.
Okay. And then 5,000 for a survey.
And we could also put in our memo that we would like to carry over our $5,000 as possible. Could be a part of this budget.
Yep. I think that would be good. Yep. So I think it comes out to about $13,050.
That's what I have. Yes. That's what I have as well. So then I would make a motion to adopt this budget, or not to adopt, but to take this budget as amended. That comes out to a total of $13,050 to send to the board as a first draft consideration.
Yep. Support.
Any other discussion?
Thank you for your work on this.
Pleasure.
Good,
and
thank
so-
you.
My question is who's going to do the memo?
So this has got to be by the second meeting.
Yes.
I can do it. I'll do it. I've got the spreadsheet, so I can do it and make it look pretty.
Okay, great. It's by the second meeting. So let's see.
2 weeks from tomorrow, it's due.
Pardon me?
2 weeks from tomorrow, it will be due to the board, correct?
Correct.
Okay. I'll get it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposition? Nope. Very good. Thank you very much.
Yes, thanks everybody for working on that.
All right, the hike subcommittee, Julia Tallulah. What's up?
I can start off, if you want, by saying, the last we heard about Sean Severance, the naturalist from Washtenaw County Parks that would lead at least some of the hikes, we heard she was sick. But I asked Sue today, and Sue said she thinks she's well. So that's good. I didn't want to bother Sean if she's really laid up with COVID and her whole family. Now, her work week is Tuesday to Saturday, so I thought tomorrow I would email her and say, hi, how are you? And tell her whatever it is that we have talked about tonight and anything we need further from her. But right now, I don't have any update about that. I did have communication with Chris Olson from the Watershed Council, and she's changing her policy, her procedures for doing bioreserve assessments, because she had said she would do an assessment on the property, which would, on the reserve, which would help us out. But I think they're changing the policy so much that they probably won't have it done by May 22nd. So I think that's not going to be available to help us. But Sean had said she would do a walkthrough sometime before the hike, and that we could come with her. Anybody could come with her that wanted to. So I hope that'll be fine with her. Maybe she can give us a date in either late April or early May. And other than that, I don't know. I haven't got much more more information about it.
So this month, the month of April was when we were going to be promoting this. And I think what we were going to do about a month and a half in advance. I don't know if we actually made I can't recall if we made a firm decision on that.
That's basically what we talked about, yeah.
Okay. So Christina, Julia, and I, do the three of us want to have a meeting before we do the launch and just, do one more run through? You guys can do that?
Yeah.
Sure. That's good.
Okay, so go ahead, Christina.
It's kind of a technical question as far as communications, because that's part of what we'll be deciding on and writing up materials like a press release. How does that work with the committee? Do we submit that? How do we submit that as a committee? Or does this have to go more through the township?
Good question.
I'll answer that. You're going to have to send it to Jennifer Carlisle. And I would copy Ken Dignan on everything since we don't have a manager currently. And just make sure to use the templates. I use like memo templates. It just has been helping, I think, like with our brand. And then when it gets printed, it all looks the same, when they include it in board packets and whatnot. And I think it should be sufficient for Jennifer to add it to the newsletter. As far as a press release, if you're talking about beyond.
Yeah, do you have
no idea. We've never done it. I don't know.
I've written hundreds of press releases. So.
Oh, I know. I don't know who they go to. I don't know. I haven't been in contact with anyone besides people at the township at this point. So I don't know who you're planning on to contact, but.
You mean within the county or the media?
Media.
We can come up with that. We've got a little bit of a list, but I just wanted to make sure that we're running these things through by the people that we need to in the county, first of all.
You mean in the township?
Yeah, in the township, sorry.
All right, so at this point, the subcommittee is going to meet again, but we're not going to meet as a committee here until May 3rd. Do we need to make any decisions as a committee Does the subcommittee need any approvals from the whole committee here before taking any action on promoting this hike?
Maybe set a date for the launch. That would be, I don't know. I don't know if we all need to do it, but that might be good just to look at a calendar and.
They had previously, somebody had previously motioned that or at least in a board update, I know it was mentioned that this would launch in mid-April. There was not a specific date, but it was that marketing would begin in mid-April.
So do you have a date in mind? I think that would be good.
April 14th, Wednesday.
So what do you imagine that you would be doing? What would the launch look like?
Well, we have that's a good question. We have our flyer that we put together. We're doing Facebook, we're doing social media, we're promoting on the neighborhood website. What else? I can't recall.
We'd want to draft a press release and send that out, and also set up some interviews. Is it possible? What's the timing on the township communications as far as their newsletter goes?
We do an official newsletter like in the tax bills, so that will not make it for that. Jennifer Carlisle, the administrative assistant, I think kind of randomly does newsletters. I can ask her. I don't think she has a specific timing. Like she'll do it when bills are getting ready to be out. One just came out, so there isn't. It might be every 2 weeks, but I don't think there's anything specific, like on specific days of the week or stuff. So
should we print some of these? I mean, I'm guessing we should maybe print some of these out and put them in the window. See if we can put them in the window fronts of, the main strip in Whitmore Lake.
Sure.
Like,
we put it like the library. We put it at Marco's. We'll put it at the community center is closed, but put it at the township.
Whoever's got foot traffic.
And like you said, other windows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Restaurants or
Yep.
ESC.
I can see if I can put it on the marquee at the community center. I know the person who puts the letters up.
Oh, that'd be great.
Got it in there, huh? Well,
Right,
perfect.
and we might want to, do we want to reach out to like the Ann Arbor Observer, who does a monthly calendar of events? Let them know?
Yeah, but you have to, we may be past their deadline already, because they're doing layout, and their deadlines are probably about at least a month out. We're pretty close to theirs.
Check.
Do you want me to reach out and check and see what their deadlines are?
Sure, can't hurt.
Okay.
So we're ready to launch our communications about April 15th or April 14th, or if not sooner.
Let's
Yeah.
say the 15th just to keep it.
Uh-huh.
And we might be surprised by how many people sign up, because I know that, because of COVID, so many more people are going to parks and walks and bike rides and, outside activities. So let's hope we get swamped with people that want to take this hike.
Well, I think the other thing that, sorry, Julia. I think the other thing that this can do for us, for example, if we can get interviews, is the hike is a vehicle for us to be able to talk about our work as a committee. So it's sort of like a way, a foot in the door, for us to get in front of, get interviews with people that can really put us in front of a much larger audience.
Julia.
I'm sorry, who were you thinking of for interviews? What kind of people? I don't remember anything about that.
There's WEMU out of
that.
Public Radio has Issues of the Environment, which would be a perfect place for us. They're pretty loyal listenership.
But is there anybody else?
Somebody mentioned a station in Howell.
Yeah, WHMI, they're pretty good. Actually, the last time we did our hike, they actually had put something out, and we received a few people that came from other towns and participated in it. So I would definitely contact them.
So we should have a subcommittee meeting whenever you want. I mean, Tallulah and Christina and I.
think the sooner the better.
Yeah, I'm just drafting the email to you guys right now. Actually.
All right.
So you want to do it this week? Or do
Yeah.
you want
I'm
next
only have like
Monday? Next Monday?
weekends are good for me.
Okay. I could
So
do weekend.
we can reply to the email. and-
Okay, sounds
yeah.
good.
I can, anytime's fine. Yeah.
So
And of
whoever,
course, when you all figure out how it needs to go on Facebook, Tallulah, I know you have access, but if you guys need my help in that regard, please
Okay.
just let me know what you need from me and I'd be happy to provide that. And I think that the group would probably appreciate an update since we don't see you again.
Yeah, sure.
Or Lenore, do you know, can we get access to, it just occurred to me that there's that survey or the MailChimp listserv that
Yeah.
everybody gets email from the township. Like, can we get access to that?
I don't think you can get access, but you can ask.
Well, not like me personally, but I mean, like, can we send an email from the Land Preservation Committee?
I think usually what Jennifer does and would Ms. Carlisle would do is add, here's what's happening.
Okay, so just as like a part of like a newsletter.
Yeah,
Got it.
yeah.
Okay,
correct.
thank you.
I have one other question. If we needed to have some maybe poster size or things printed up, would we take those somewhere and have them printed? And then how would we do that? Get to the covering the printing costs?
Well, we do have 5,000 in the budget.
So do you just get reimbursed? I'm just
Please.
talking more of the procedure.
Yep, and please don't pay taxes.
Don't what?
No, don't pay sales tax because we're a township. And so
How do we get where do we get the tax exempt info?
Yeah, you'd contact Jennifer Carlisle. Actually, I'm putting something in the board packet from the treasurer's point of view is to make sure that we don't pay sales tax. Because sometimes with different committees and new board members and new committee members, we are seeing that people are asking for sales tax reimbursement. And again, we're a tax exempt entity. And I'd work with Jennifer to see, where we can get the printing done. And if need be, we can file out the forms, like if you want to go somewhere local that we may not have, to make sure we don't get charged for taxes. I think that would be something personally to put in the board packet on the memo to the board. Just say, hey, we're going to do some advertising and we expend, how much do we plan on expending, and I would put a dollar amount in there for tomorrow's meeting so that we can let people know that we are going to expend some of our $5,000 on this. I don't know, 1,000, I mean, not 1,000, like 100, 200. We have 250 for this budget, so I don't know, it'd be 100, but I would put some sort of estimate in there. And then work with Jennifer to make sure, or Ms. Carlisle, that we go through and a firm that doesn't charge or already has our paperwork, or we get the paperwork to them so we don't pay sales tax.
Because I mean, I think it's fine to do some posters, although I have a hard time kind of imagining exactly where very many posters would go. It seems to me we did pretty well with our farm tour, just with 8.5 by 11 broadsides.
I think we might even had 11 by 14. And if you need copies, obviously we can make some copies at the township.
And we have good color copies
Yeah,
at the township.
so we
Yeah.
can do that. So, I mean,
Yeah.
if you're talking 100, certainly, I mean, you're talking,
Or something like
I
that.
mean, we can even make 1,000. So the township can help out and make copies.
I think 100 or 150 or something probably would be enough.
Yeah, it might be too much. So any kind of copying stuff, we can make copies at the township.
Good.
All right, so basically, we have a plan for between now and our next committee meeting, that the subcommittee is going to have this underway by the time we meet again. Yes?
Yes.
All
Yeah.
right, that's great. And you're going to send us something as an update as to where we're at and how things are going as it proceeds?
Yeah.
So we can all be abreast of what's happening. That'd be great. Anything else about this other than putting in a request for good weather that day?
Yeah, please.
All right.
That's a good question, David. Is there a rain date or is it rain or shine?
rain or shine.
Fine.
Okay.
It could be a spring hike in the rain, bring your umbrella, sort of thing.
Okay.
It can be nice in the woods in the rain, in a rainstorm.
Okay.
Next item on the agenda is receive the subcommittee updates.
We already did
Seems
this.
to me we've just been doing that the whole meeting, actually.
We literally have done this. I have no questions about what any of these subcommittees are doing because we've been discussing it the entire time.
All right. Then we can move on to item number 7. Determine if the LPC desires virtual or in-person meetings.
So I wrote that as an agenda item, and then since then, Lenore sent a resolution for us all to look at. I sent it out, a link to it via email today and added it to our folder. It is called Electronic Meeting Procedures of the Northfield Township Land Preservation Committee.
Right, I've got that.
Yeah. It states that we will continue to hold our meetings electronically until December 31st, or if we determine we no longer want to. So there's some flexibility there, and also provides some guidelines and requirements for that. So
I
to make
think
sure everybody had a chance to read it, but also that the public knows what we're talking about.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Marissa and
I
Lenore.
did have one comment or one question. I'm going to try to find it. Hold on. Okay, I'm going to bring it up just so I have a copy as well. So down at the, one of it says members of the public may contact members of the body, the LPC before the meeting via email or by leaving a phone message. Right now, I just had the main message. Are there any other telephone numbers we would like to put in there? Do you want to contact you, David, or anything?
Yeah, you can put my phone number in there. That'd be fine.
So we could add that in addition to the township number?
Yes.
I would recommend possibly, do you really want to do that? Like as a matter of public record, add your phone number? Just a thought.
Well, there's another way to go about it. I just got some message from Google that I created a Google phone number at some point when I was running for office. So I have that. Let me give that some thought, Lenore. I'll get back to you. But it would be, maybe it just makes sense if somebody wants to reach out to us, they leave a message at the Township Hall, and
Okay.
I would assume they'd get to us quickly enough. And
Right. That's the way it is right now.
I like that.
Okay.
And all of our email addresses are available on the website as well.
Right, because it says contact by email or phone number. So.
Okay.
All right. So, all
I
right.
guess it's fine.
Well, I think we should make a motion to, accept the electronic meeting procedures of the Northfield Township Land Preservation Committee.
Support.
Okay, supported by Sue. Any other discussion?
I would just like to say at this point in time, we would, even though we have the option, it doesn't say that we have to pick one, that we plan on meeting virtually for the time being.
Right. There's advantages and disadvantages both of getting together, in person. It's much more social, but this way it's also so much easier. And I think it's a whole lot easier for members of the public to attend and to comment if they don't have to leave their house. They could just hop online and be here.
Yeah,
So that's very helpful.
My thought too right now is as the surge continues, I think we want to be very cautious on what we do as a body of the township. And again, I think as it subsides a little bit, more people get vaccinated, maybe in 90 days, we'd reconsider, certainly. But at this point in time, I think as the surge is becoming greater, I think we be cautious.
Okay. All in favor of the motion? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? All in favor? Unanimous. Great. Second call to the public. Anybody that'd like to speak, please raise your hand and you'll be recognized. Francine Dolans. Hi, Francine. Could you please identify yourself and your address? And you've got 3 minutes.
Okay, thanks. I'll speak fast. My name is Francine Dolans. I live at 350 North Territorial Road West here in Northfield Township. The issue that I would like to talk about is the housing development that is going to be next to my house on the corner of Whitmore Lake Road and North Territorial. We were given, officially, we were given 15 days notice that this was going to happen, although there was a delay in that because the developer did not put up the signs in time and so on. So we actually had a little bit longer. But compared to the couple of years that the developer had in working with the township to develop this isn't really fair. That's more of like a state issue. But I think in terms of fairness, this committee should think about this issue as well in terms of preservation of land. How much time do homeowners and other people in the surrounding areas have to kind of counter some of these developments when they think that they're not the right thing? That's one issue. The other main issue that I really want to raise is that this is being slated for rezoning. This area is being slated for rezoning as medium density. It is now zoned as low density, as I'm sure that you all know. Low density has, if they're going to develop it, it's one house per 1.5 to 2 acres. Which it would be in the sort of 90 sort of 2 acres or so that it is, would be somewhere around 80 houses at the most. And that, wouldn't make me delighted. I would rather that it stayed as a farm because I love farms, and I think that the rural character of Northfield Township is maintained by keeping farms. I also understand, as Lenore said earlier, that there is importance in having a balance and that perhaps some areas do need to be developed. So I am not 100% against a development, but I am 100% against what this kind of development is going to be. So the master plan says that medium density property, and I can go through numbers, although I probably don't have time, but if anybody wants me to, I can email them or send it some other way. Medium density says the developer can have houses between 1 to 4 houses per acre. The developer has come up with a plan with 4 houses per acre, but he has asked for exceptions, variants on the medium density definition, such that he really has more like 5 houses per acre. But if you take into the account that he also has on that plan assisted living and commercial property. Now, in the medium density definition in the master plan, it does not include assisted living. Assisted living is only in the high density. Secondly, commercial property is not in the definition of medium density. It is only in the high density. So we are not abiding by our own master plan. Now, I lived in this area for 11 years and I knew nothing about urban planning or about master plans 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. I have hit the ground running and trying to learn as much as possible. So you guys know a lot more than I do. But I am trying to learn as fast as possible. And all I can say is that I would be okay, not happy, but okay with a development next to my house and in Northfield Township, like, in this parcel. But we have to abide by what our own township says. And we are not doing that. And we are going to make a huge mess. There's going to be terrible traffic. There's going to be more than 260 houses, including assisted living. You think about that, that's about 3,000, 4,000 road trips a day in and out of that property. That's going to be a nightmare. Then there's going to be light traffic, higher crime, pollution, et cetera, Just as a quick ending, I talked about this with the urban planner, University of Michigan urban planner professor, and asked him to look at the plan and asked him just, what do you think of this? And what he said is, this is a city within Northfield Township. This is not a suburban development. This is an urban development for the density. This is a problem. And he said that this is going to be a disaster waiting to happen. So I'm trying to see this in the best possible light. I also want to see it in a balanced light and to understand that the township would like to raise taxes and so on. I also think that we need to think really carefully about what are we doing to this township in terms of changing the character. because I hear people in this committee saying they moved here because it's rural and because it's beautiful and because there's open space and clean air. And it's not going to be that in a very short time, not if there are these 3 large farm developments that are planned, right? And this is one of the large farm developments. It's a Centennial farm that's been there for a really long time, as far as I understand, and it's going to disappear. So I think we need to think carefully about that. Thank you for the time and for listening.
Thank you very much, Francine. I understand what you're saying, and Nate, you'd like to make a comment? Nate Moko?
Is he there?
I think he needs to be unmuted.
Go ahead, Tom, do you do that?
I'm trying. Can you
Yeah, I
hear
think
me?
he can do himself.
There you go.
Anybody hear me?
Yeah, now we can hear you.
Yep.
I've lost internet 3 times. Oh, I just wanted to say to Francine, this is my 3 minutes, I guess. Please go to a planning commission meeting and bring your plea there, because everything you said sounds good. That's all I got. That was my
Thank you. Thank you both. Anyone else from the public care to speak? Seeing none, we can close the call to the public. Board member comments? Marissa?
I would just encourage, like Nate said, Francine to go to the planning commission meeting, which is scheduled for Wednesday. The login information is on the website there. And also the planning commission will cut you off at 3 minutes. So if that was your speech and this was a practice run, you're gonna wanna to trim that up just a little. Just a bit of advice as you move into that. Also, we have a bit of an audience for once and everybody's listening. I wanted to let everybody know that the Washtenaw County Parks and Rec is having Stewardship Saturday again this week. It's at the Baker Woods Preserve at 1 p.m. and they're going to be tackling garlic mustard in the area. So that's a good fun way to get your hands dirty. And it's supposed to be really nice weather. So there's still some openings there. So you're going to want to email Katie Carlisle at washtenaw.org. If you want to volunteer there. That's how she signs people up. Because of COVID, they have a restriction on how many volunteers they can take as well.
What's the address again?
It is, let me make sure I get you the right one. Her name is Katie Carlisle, and her email address is Carlisle C, so CARLISLEC at washtenaw.org.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else have a comment? Lenore?
So yes, I would recommend that people go through the planning commission, the process of voicing their concerns, support for anything that the planning commission does. The process as it goes through the planning commission, and then it would come to the board. So I appreciate your comments, and I do appreciate your concerns, as well as 3 minutes. You have 3 minutes, so want to time yourself. I just want to let you know too, the Parks and Rec is doing a community garden cleanup this Saturday at, I believe, 9 o'clock, 9 to 2. So you can come there first and then go pick garlic if you're so inclined. And then also Kiwanis is doing, we are planning to do highway pickup April 17th, starting at 10 o'clock, if anybody's interested. And our section of road is between 6 Mile and 8 Mile. And we'll be doing that. So, and we are meeting at what we call the old Sunoco station. So anybody knows where that is, it's on the other side of, it's at 6 Mile and Whitmore Lake Road, that kind of gravel parking lot that other people seem to use. We just start there as our pickup point. So thank you very much.
Sue?
Sorry, Lenore, can you tell me what time you're meeting again?
For which one?
The April 16th Kiwanis pickup.
Yep, April, I think it's 17th. That's a Saturday, and it's at 10 a.m.
And you're cleaning up from 6 to 8 Mile on what, Main Street?
No, on the highway.
Oh, on the highway?
Oh, out on 23?
You got it.
How exciting. I think that's a little too exciting.
No. Yep. It's actually, I've been looking, and it's actually pretty bad, unfortunately.
I believe it.
Yep. So anyway, unfortunate, but every little bit helps. We don't, we may do 2-3 hours. We don't spend like the entire day there.
Anyone else have a comment? I'd like to say first, Francine, thank you for your comments. Francine and I have talked several times since this rezoning request came to light, and I empathize and sympathize with her situation. If somebody was going to put a large subdivision / commercial city-like development next to my house, I would be distraught. I've looked at the plan in depth, and I would tend to agree with Francine that I don't believe it meets either the master plan as it's written or its intent, and the specific rezoning request that they're asking for to multifamily. It doesn't meet that. It doesn't meet medium density, and I'll be making some comments as a private individual at the Planning Commission meeting on Wednesday in opposition to this request. I understand there needs to be a balance, but we also need to, and this is a point that I've been trying to make for the last 20 years with Sue Shink and Lenore and any number of other people involved in neighbors, is that you have to respect your master plan. You simply can't twist it and torture it to make it fit what a developer wants to do on a specific parcel. These folks scope out parcels, they figure out what they want to do, and then they come into the township and talk about how great it's going to be and how it fits your plan even when it doesn't. And we've gone through this routine in our township now twice in a big way, and it's incredibly disruptive, and I think unnecessary. If you believe in your master plan, then you need to actually stick by it. And also in terms of the noticing, when residents get a 15-day notice, but there's been multiple opportunities during the months and months that developers have been talking with our township officials for the township to, through its various website or newsletters or email lists, to inform the public that this is an option, that this is in discussion. I think that's incumbent upon them to do that rather than the absolute minimum legal noticing requirements, which is a notice in the local paper under legal notices that I would suspect nobody ever reads, and the minutes of the meetings, which I also suspect nobody reads. So I'm a big fan of informing the public as to what's going on. And I was thinking of actually asking our committee to take a position on this, but the more I've thought about it and having discussed it with several members, it seems to me that it's not really the mission of our Land Preservation Committee to take positions on rezoning requests. That's more of a political process, and I would say that we might wind up doing ourselves more harm than good. So that would be my general feeling about the commission taking a posture or making a statement on this. But I'm willing to listen to what anybody else has to say. So that's kind of where I'm at, and I'd like to open it up again. And before we sign off, just do a wrap up of tonight's meeting and who's going to do what between now and next meeting. So. Julia, would you like to talk, and then Sue?
I'm just curious, who is the developer and where can we inform ourselves about it right now?
May I speak to tell you, or?
I can answer that question, okay. Francine. Chestnut Development LLC is the developer, and if you go to the township website, to the Planning Commission under Government tab, and look at the packet for April 7th, it'll have all the information of the development and their request for rezoning right there, because that's pretty much the only thing on the Planning Commission agenda for Wednesday.
Okay, good. Thank you. I will.
Sue?
Thank you. I just want to address just some thoughts about the development at the corner of Whitmore Lake and North Territorial. When I moved here almost 20 years ago, I found out after we'd made a commitment to purchase our property that there were two major developments that were going to be that were slated to happen around what we thought was a very rural neighborhood, and that's how I became involved. And part of the justification, I think, in a way, is when you're investing basically your life savings in a community, you rely on the zoning that you find when you purchase your home, and you don't have the ability really just to to undo all that, right? So you've invested your life savings in a community. You did it based on what you saw and what was on the books, and then to have it change so that a company can make a profit, it just doesn't seem fair. And I think that's the thing that we, if we keep that kind of thing in mind, development in compliance with the master plan is fair. It might not be what we want, depending on who we are, but it's fair. It's something that the community came to the conclusion that it could accept or that it supported, and everybody can find that there in the books. But when things change, like basically on a 2 weeks notice, that's not fair, and it destroys trust in government. It destroys trust in the community. And so I think for me, that's kind of where the buck stops, is at the master plan. And so as I can't make it to the meeting on Wednesday, I'll try to get something in. I think that our community is always going to be facing development pressure because we are between two we're in between more than that, but we're directly between two very dynamic economic centers in Brighton and Ann Arbor. And what our community can provide is a gem of a bedroom community if we can keep working to keep it that way. And land preservation is a big part of that. In Ann Arbor, they've had some studies done where they've shown that open space actually increases property values and draws more people in. And it's very difficult to argue that Ann Arbor's formula has been unsuccessful. And I think our community can take advantage of our really incredible place that we have in between Brighton and Ann Arbor. It's important that we do the hard work of keeping it desirable, keeping it trustworthy, so that people will continue to invest their life savings here and bring their families here. And the Land Preservation Committee is an important part of that. So just thank you, everybody. And Francine, it's nice to see your face. We spent some time on the phone, so we'll keep working on this. Thanks.
Thank you, Sue. Does anyone else have any comments to make? All right, so we have pretty much the deadlines we're working on is making sure that we get the budget request to the board. Number one, getting the ball rolling on the rollout for the hike. And what am I missing? The three things that we're going to get coming out of this meeting is
We have to make sure we do the board update.
yeah, process for the board update, which I'll have for you together with Marissa.
Yep.
Written up and ready for the next board meeting.
Yeah, well, it's due tomorrow by noon.
Yes,
Correct.
I'll do it tonight. I'll be in touch with you tonight afterwards. And if there's nothing else at this point, thank you to the public who joined us, Francine and LJ and Joanne. I saw that Ed Voitis was online with us, and Sally Lewis was there for a while, John Meadows. If there's nothing else, we will adjourn. I make a motion to adjourn.
Or
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you all very much.
Night.
We are adjourned.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Bye.